Her father purchased the company from Clark Equipment back in 1975. And he had run a trailer upfitting shop in Kansas City called Ashton Richards. Sidney had worked there at least part-time during the summers, so she had some experience in the truck trailer business.
It was her family business, and so it came natural to her, but she was a great combination of an intelligent, well-educated person through more than just having been born into that business. She took it upon herself to learn a lot about the world.
She had a pretty unique educational background. She went to KU, and where she got her degree in math and education. Then she went on to the University of Houston and actually got a master's in accounting and was a CPA.
Sidney came up to Lawrence to take over the business from her father, whose health was failing. None of us really knew what to expect, but we quickly learned that she had a lot of the same values as her father. I remember very clearly her father telling me, "Dane, we don't put upon people. We don't put upon our customers. We don't put upon our employees. We don't put upon our vendors." She took those values and made them a policy of the company.
Sidney, took a business that had a good history, but really adapted it to an entirely new generation.
She took care of her employees in such a fashion that the employees didn't want to leave. She paid the employees well. She introduced a health plan that was very, very competitive in the marketplace. And she introduced a 401k plan that was, at the time, exceptional. In fact, today it's even more exceptional, I guess. She also purchased an ERP system for the business, and that changed the way we managed the business forever. She also purchased a very expensive machine that built sidewalls for us in an automated process. That was very significant. Changed not only the quality of the sides that we built, but the time it took to build them, and surprising benefit was how much quieter it became in the plant. So she ran a really tight ship.
So she created an environment where people wanted to come to work, not only for the paycheck and the benefits, but also because of the culture she created and upon her father's footsteps, if you will, with the folks. And I think that's why she was successful and the company grew.
Sidney really stepped up to the plate and kept it going, and not just kept it going, she built it. She made Brown Cargo Van what it is today.
Sidney was a pioneer because, particularly as a female business person, but I think specifically in her area, in trucking.
She earned respect. She got respect, and it didn't hurt that she was a better golfer than most men. Numerous salesmen that called on us that played golf with her, and customers she beat. I don't think she ever lost to one of them.
What a lot of people didn't know is that she was a horseback rider, and she actually won a lot of rodeo and Red Wing events growing up. And she loved KU basketball. I can't think of many games that I went to that I didn't see Sidney at. Giving back to the community was number one for Sidney. She felt like she built the community through her business, and then she built the community through what she could give back. She was very involved in the Lawrence Memorial Hospital. She was instrumental in keeping it a city hospital and not letting it become some of a public network. She was very involved in the KU endowment. She felt like education was so incredibly important, and she wanted to make sure that there was a legacy that she could leave behind for future generations to get that higher level of education.
She was finance or treasurer for the Lawrence Country Club. She was involved with the women's athletics, supporting women's athletics at the university.
She really spread herself very broadly. I think the first place I ever worked with her was the Chamber of Commerce, and so that was clearly with a business motive, the betterment of Lawrence business in general. We were also on the Lawrence Art Center board together. She was the treasurer of that board, as she frequently became the treasurer of whatever board we were on.
She treated those entities like business entities. The whole idea of a nonprofit organization not being fiscally sound, that was not in her mindset. She had a keen sense of being able to look at a nonprofit financial statement and say, okay, we need to shore these things up. We need to run like a business and be efficient and also take care of people.
I think it was always comforting to the rest of the board members when Sidney was there because she would ask the questions that needed to be asked, and she had studied the financials, and really got her paws into whatever it was she was involved in, and then was just incredibly generous. The Art Center has an auction every year, and I remember one year Sidney couldn't be there, and she went through and bought out a number of pieces before the auction even started by putting in the maximum bid on a number of pieces. So she was always committed to whatever it was she was doing.
The whole city of Lawrence to her, was so important. She wanted to grow and build it and make sure it was around for generations to come. Sidney just had such a kind and welcoming personality. She really just cared and gave back, and she also had an incredible sense of humor. When I started working with Sidney, I served in the capacity as her external auditor. So I knew I had to have my stuff together when I would go down to talk to her. So I'd go down with an adjustment, and I would round it off maybe to the nearest dollar. And Sidney didn't like that, so we would get out all of the paperwork and we would go through and we'd get it down to the penny. Because Sidney was the type of person who wanted to get it right.
She really ran the company closely. We all laughed about how she kept track of paper clips. I mean, we did not waste one paper clip when Sidney was here.
She was the kind of person that would take on difficult situations because they were difficult. And she knew she had the self-confidence and the core to be able to take those things on. I think that made her unique. She could have done anything she wanted to do.